سنتحدث عن التوافق مع أهداف التنمية المستدامة. المؤسسات أو الشركات الصغيرة، المنشآت الصغيرة المتوسطة، رواد الأعمال، هذه الموافقة وهذا التوازي مع أهداف التنمية المستدامة.
This compatibility with these SDGs, how can help us achieve sustainability for these institutions, while you also try to make part of your startup or your business to become part of this progress to ensure global impact. Our next speaker, Dr. Mohammed Nournafi. Dr. Mohammed.
Very happy and delighted and very honored to be part of this discussion. You know, I have varieties of experiences, so I try to bring not the traditional lecture or something like that, but I'll try to be more informative. So let's share the agenda. I would like to discuss, like, you know, business need to think about the sustainability, the climate, SDGs, ESG, so many compliance, many requirements. So how you can integrate all this together? And that's the agenda for my discussion or talk today. So I'm Professor Mohammed Nournafi. I'm from Prince Sultan University, founding director for Center for Sustainability and Climate, and also the founding president for an NGO called VISA, Vision for Sustainable Africa. We are bringing around 48 African countries together on sustainability and climate issues. Also, the founding president and the CEO of the Oxford Impact Group. We are working on a whole lot of sustainability and climate agenda as well. And I have the visiting positions on different parts of the globe and also visiting fellow at Oxford. And this is my impact. You know, today I was listening, many people are talking about the impact. So my impact to the Saudi community and the global community is in terms of the research. I rank number 1 based on the Stanford 2%, as the rank number 1 in business and top 7 in the world in accounting. And this is like, you know, my collaborations globally, more than 120 countries. So impacting differently as a mini UN kind of collaboration. And I have experiences on the government sector and the private sector and so on. This is my policy papers on different aspects on the social side. And this is, you know, how we are contributing to the different COPs and so on in Saudi and globally. And as you know, in Saudi Arabia, the COP16 will happen in December next month. It's a big event, and we are also contributing on the COP16 on the youth, the land desertification, and so on. Well, like, you know, as I told you, my agenda, what is the sustainability and climate and the business model we need to think on, and how all these things can be integrated, part of the business model. It doesn't matter, you are a small company, big company, medium-sized company, but you should think all this should be integrated into your business model, is not the separate. So think about some of the key statistics. You know, when you hear some numbers, it is really scary for all of us. For example, see in terms of the IPCC assessment by, we have to be net zero, as the Crown Prince already announced, we would like to be net zero by 2060, right? And the IPCC, they are saying by 2030, we need to reduce the 50% of greenhouse gas. And some other statistics, for example, here, 821 million people, 1 in 9 go to bed without food, right? Or being hungry. Like, we are wasting millions of or trillions of dollars in waste, food waste, the overall waste. So these numbers are very significant. So as a business, are we here just to make money, because we are living in a society, right? So we need to care about the society. So the whole business model, the business idea, need to be diverted or shifted, what we call for the sustainable development goals. So, when we talk about the SDG, I have the logo here as SDG, the 17 SDGs are, but where it came from. Sometimes we hate history, but we need to know the history, right? The history will help us for making the sustainable development for the business. So the whole objective of the sustainable development goals, it came from early 2000 when the Millennium Development Goals were introduced based on the 8 goals there, and mainly they are focusing on poverty, the child education, the health issues, HIV, and so on. But the key aspect during 2015, the first 15 years, we came to know the Millennium Development Goals or MDG, we failed to address the inequality. And do you know, the inequality now is more than 100 years data. It is the highest position now. So what are we talking about? One side, we're thinking like we will be more rich. Another side, people are getting more poorer. So the inequality is significantly increasing globally. So then we came to know the Sustainable Development Goals. It came 2016. And the key objective of the Sustainable Development Goals is a equal opportunity for all, right? So the fair share for economic share in the society and the economy. So that is the key essence for Sustainable Development Goals. And that was the talk from the former Secretary General Ban Ki-moon also said. So these are the 17 SDGs goals. We all are familiar with that. Poverty, partnership, decent work, gender equality, many things are there. So as a business, sometimes we feel how we can, because it is the goals for the government. What is the relation for us? No. Whatever we do in business every day is linking with that. So if you think in a different mindset, like, I'm helping the poor people, it is part of the SDG 1, right? I'm having some partnership. This is SDG 17. I'm helping for the quality of education or the education sector. I'm employing more female or the diversity, SDG 8. So if you think like in a broader way, all the activities you do in business is linked with the SDGs. It's not a rocket science. It's not a separate agenda for you. Whatever you are doing, you need to understand how we can integrate into our business model. So, but the key challenge, the data doesn't tell the lies, right? 2016, the SDGs announced. Now, we are in 2024, 9 years already we finished, right? 6 years to go. Do you know what percentage we achieved so far? Anyone? Sorry, it's not a lecture session, but anyone, do you know what percentage we achieved so far? Only 17%. So we all collectively, business, academics, civil society, NGO, government, everyone needs to address these issues. Otherwise, it's not only the government agenda, right? So we all need to address that. Otherwise, we won't be able to achieve the sustainable development goals. Now, again, this year we call the triple COPs year, the COP 16 and COP 29, and what we call the Rio Convention for achieving the sustainable development goals, which happened in 1992. Just to give you the idea, where it is coming from, you all are the business people, you know how to make money, but I'm giving some insights how it is integrated into the business model, where it is coming from, and how we need to understand broadly, right? That was the missing part. It's not the ESG, we know the E, S, and G, the compliance colors, everything is finished. It's not like that. So if you think about the COPs, through the Rio Convention, the UN climate change, the UN desertification, and also the biodiversity. So these three COPs were all the countries together making the decisions what the climate action should be for the world. So the COPs is the what we call the conference to the parties, where all the government taking the decisions. Just to giving a glimpse of, you see the COP16, one is the biodiversity, one is the desertification, right? And as you all know, next month, December 2 to December 13, it will happen in Riyadh. The first time the COPs are happening in Riyadh on the desertification and drought planning. And then COP29 is happening in Azerbaijan this year. So in terms of the ESG, you know, the historically, when it is coming from, during the 1980s, we used to call E, H and S. So that time we don't call the ESG, right? Environmental, health and safety. Then 90s came to sustainability. Then the 2000 era, we used to call the corporate social responsibility. Sometimes we call the corporate accountability. After 2000, the financial crisis, the new model came, what we call the ESG era. And now many countries and many companies are following that one. So why this ESG came? You see, the historically, from the BP, the Nestle, the Wells Fargo, the big companies, they did something wrong, right? So how to stop these misbehaving activities for the society, for the community and for the economy? The ESG model is very effective. Well, in the Middle East, what happened the ESG era? You know, 2016 is a significant year for us because the Crown Prince announced the Vision 2030, right? So the whole ESG movement in the Middle East and of course in Saudi, from after the 2016, especially during the COVID, when the Saudi Green Initiative, Middle East Green Initiative, and during the 2021 in Glasgow, the Crown Prince announced Saudi to be net zero country by 2060. So you see the few things I discussed now, Millennium Development Goals, Sustainable Development Goals, COPs, then the net zero, in between the ESG and the SDGs. So it's not separate, all these things. So when as a business model you are creating, you see my talk called the future proof. What are you thinking about the future? What the business in future will be? Because you will be dealing with the millennials, right? Or the Gen Z, and their way of aspiration of learning, doing things are different. When I go to the class, or even if like every 2 minutes, they look at their mobile, right? And I cannot stop that because this is in their DNA. They are in different generation. So when we think about the business model, we need to be future-centric, right? And the future-centric for the sustainable development can be achieved when you integrate all these things together. So anyway, like, you know, the Saudi Arabia, the PIF is a huge movement for the ESG, the $450 billion, the PIF, they integrated in their investment portfolio. Then the Saudi Exchange already introduced the ESG framework for Saudi Arabia. It is a voluntary, it's not mandated. And also the Securities and Exchange Commission in the US, they are also taking significant steps on that. See, this is the old picture, 40 countries, which is complying the 70% of the GDP globally, and they are mandating the ESG. So it is telling us why we need to follow this, right? So globally, it is very important for the business, regardless the size of the business. Well, some data, there were some studies happened. It is around, if you can see here, the 9 years data, and 14,043 observations. And there is a connectivity or the link or the correlation between if you comply with the ESG and the profit as well. So the data is telling us if we do the ESG, we can be more profitable. Because some business people, they say, oh, this is waste of money, blah, blah. Like, it's not like that. You have to be future-centric for sustainable development. Well, the New York University, they conducted 250 research globally, and to see the connection, what is the relationship between the ESG or the sustainability and the profitability. And they see of course, the positive relationship between that. In terms of the Morgan Stanley, so here they are saying, of course, those who are having the sustainability agenda, the ESG and so on, they can get the abnormal returns. Not only the good returns, but they can get high returns, right? So now in Saudi Arabia, as this is not a regulation yet, it's a new concept for all of us. The big companies, the small companies, many companies are taking many good initiatives. The investors are also demanding on that, and Saudi is a global market now. When I came to Biban, it's not a Saudi forum, right? It's a global forum. It's a global market, open market. So here the investors are demanding more ESG compliance and so on for the sustainable development. So this is the journey for Saudi Arabia, So again, I'm repeating and repeating and repeating. When you think about your business model, think where the country is heading to, right? So I cannot be separate from the country agenda, the Vision 2030. I need to integrate. It's not I'm putting the logo and I'm saying I'm aligning Vision 2030, right? I have to put my initiatives, my activities, my actions aligning with the Vision 2030. So here you see the journey, sustainability journey in Saudi. It started 2016 and the target by 2060 to be net zero carbon country. So as a business, as a company, do you have a plan for 2060? I mean, if you have a plan for net zero by 2060, you can raise your hand, please. But very few companies, right? So this is how we are putting the title. We have to be future-centric, not making money only tomorrow, right? And the Vision 2030, the sustainability is one of the key elements. But what the Crown Prince said is not only you are integrating the sustainability, it will create millions of jobs in Saudi market. So that is the inspiration or the aspiration for all of us, right? So there is a huge demand on the sustainability and climate area, the skills and so on. This is the ranking for Saudi, the SDGs as a country, 103. So the global ESG framework, when we talk about the ESG framework globally, you see the IFRS, Sustainability Standards, European Union, Security Exchange Commission, TCFD, all these are big players, but mainly the IFRS Sustainability Standards, because they already announced the two standards, IFRS S1 and S2, right? So these are the two standards. One is the disclosure, another one is the climate one. Well, for the Saudi side, during 2021, the Saudi Exchange introduced the ESG model for the business. Not for the SME, still I think Ministry of Economy and Planning, they are discussing with their stakeholders and so on. So what are the three areas? Environmental, social and governance. So overall around 33 compliance for any business to think I am the ESG compliant. It's very easy. It's not, again, it's a rocket science. You can download the ESG model for Saudi. And even if you're a small business, see, even if you are complying some things, it will give you some confidence, right? Well, then after 2021, after 2 years in GCC, they put the GCC model of ESG in 2023. the ESG framework for the GCC, and there are certain element, E element for 10 compliance, social 10 compliance, and G governance is 9 compliance. So there are 29 compliance standards by the GCC on. Well, now, I would like to ask all of you, there are few key questions are here. Why should we care about the ESG? Why we need to integrate into our business model? Well, the answer is to have a sustainable development and to be in the market sustainable way. We are not here to finish our business tomorrow, right? We want to create a real impact in the business community, also the society we are living in. So this is the future proof for some key takeaways. As I was discussing earlier, the millennials, 75% of the millennials, they will take over the jobs, by 2030. So you see, if you have the human resource department, and we all are old generation, I'm not that old, but it's still old, right? Compared to millennials. So their way of doing things, thinking the future centric is different than us. So we really need to invest time on the social aspect, the human resource, and so on. It is very, very important. Then some of the key areas, for example, 60% companies' future roles will be filled by the current employees. But are we ready? So if you are not ready, what are you talking about the future, right? So what it means, those people are in the job, the company, they should train them up on a regular basis, right? So this is very important. And all these things, what we call the ESG. So you see, ESG is an integrated model you can utilize to have a sustainable development. Well, some key readings, and I like the two guys, Dr. Muhammad Yunus. He said, we want to see 3-0 world. One is the zero poverty, zero unemployment, and zero carbon emissions, right? What he argued, when I came to a shopping mall, or you go to a shopping mall, people are saying buy, buy, buy. When you buy things, you are consuming more, goods, you are spending, and you are encouraging for carbon emissions, right? So in that case, it's difficult for sustainable development. Another guy, both are Nobel laureate. One is the Nobel Peace Prize winner in 2006, and another one is the Nobel Peace Prize winner in 2019. He is the great economist in MIT. You see, when I started talking, on the openings, I said the inequality is increasing significantly. I'll give you some countries. For example, if you think about China, UK, India, US, over the 200 years, their inequality is the highest in the world. Think about the Brazil, Mexico, South Africa. Their inequality is going down. Does it mean you have more money? That's why inequality is going down? No. So we need to think about how we would like to create the world. We can make a better world where everyone has better opportunity. Well, I would like to invite you all for COP16 next month in Riyadh. And that is, as I told you, we are expecting more than 200,000 people there. Of course, we all fight for a better tomorrow, right? So together we make a sustainable world. I really thank you all. Very good night to all of you. And thank you for your listening to me. And hope to see you sometime soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Great conclusion for this night. Thank you. And you look amazing with the thobe.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
شكرا جزيلا لكم حضورنا الكرام وكل من يتابعنا عبر البث المباشر. غدا سيكون اليوم الأخير، مساحة واسعة من المعرفة والتفاعل على المسرح الرئيسي وفي كل جنبات بيبان 24. نشوفكم إن شاء الله على خير.